What is going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for joining me here for my monthly Waxapalooza live stream. We're bringing on the best from the wax community, and we're just talking all things wax. And today I have Michael Rubinelli with me here, and he is the GM over at the new Tyranno Studios. And you know, can we say formerly known as? Can we and formerly known as Wax as well. So Michael, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Stash, thank you for having me. Big fan and a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you for jumping on here and talking a little bit about wax and what's going on in general. So for those that don't know, maybe tell us a little bit about this whole change, this shift we've seen here with wax and the team at Wax.io. And how we've kind of shifted over to Tyranno now, and what that kind of means for you.
Yeah, it's not really a shift as much as kind of an evolution or a rebranding. What was really interesting is that, we have a lot of strategic, kind of conversations with other companies like, Polygon, who are big fans of what they're doing, and Solana, and, even marketplaces, like Magic Eden and Fractal and OpenSea and whatnot. And at the time, we were Wax Studios, and they said, we're a layer 2, or we're an EVM, or we're not the Wax protocol. Why are you talking to us? And it's like, well, we're a studio, right? And we believe in kind of a cross-chain world, which is where we're all going. I think that's undeniable. And so they effectively said, we never even thought to engage you on any kind of like cross-promotion or any other kind of strategic conversations, because we just thought you were exclusive to the Wax protocol. And we said, not at all. We know that the Wax protocol is clearly and obviously and kind of undisputably the number one blockchain in the world as far as NFTs and gaming is concerned. But what we don't know is we don't know how to get everybody that wants to come in and game to realize that. And so having these relationships in place, right, and rebranding us, now people think of us very, very differently, because that I thought you were just wax only is never part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. In general, I feel like it has been a struggle to get people to recognize wax as a blockchain and how well it has really done. I'm astonished every day. Trust me, man. I've been out here since the beginning of wax, seeing every evolution, and it really has been a little bit astonishing. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of get back to doing something here monthly that is kind of community focused and kind of just updates people like what's going on, what where are we at as a community with wax and what's going on. But I think it makes sense to say that, hey, us as a studio that are developing games and experiences, we're not going to be just beholden just to the wax blockchain. That's not all we're really going to be working on. Whereas we're going to be working on, maybe stuff there, but then, cross-chain things as well, which I think, is definitely forward thinking. I think it's important to be able to look towards the future and understand that's where we're going is cross-chain. So jumping on that now, I think makes a lot of sense. But that doesn't mean that like wax is, the wax as we know it is going away, right? I mean, people are like, well, are they jumping ship? Are they leaving us? That's it. Now they're going to go away, and then what about wax? Who's going to be at the ship? Like, no one's steering. Michael, who's steering?
Yeah, it's a great point, and are you telling me that people in crypto are kind of worried and they kind of FUD from time to time? That's news to us, I guess. Yeah, no, in all seriousness, the reality is actually the Wax blockchain, the protocol is getting even better. Like, it was really interesting with the whole notion of, or what we saw, the shift of kind of Ethereum going to being a proof of stake chain, a proof of stake protocol. Their finality went from 15 minutes to about 30 minutes, time to finality, which is really a long time. And it's kind of understood if you know how their chain or their protocol is engineered, where ours is always kind of 2 to 3 minutes at sort of worst case scenario. What we're doing internally with kind of, the development, kind of some of the changes that are coming to what's now called Antelope is, our time to finality is going to be like 2 to 4 seconds, and that's coming in the next couple months. So we're actually reinvesting even more and kind of into the protocol, into the user experience. We are completely kind of, re-engineering and optimizing the Wax Cloud wallet. We built the viral marketplace to be a better shopping experience for consumers. And so if you look at all the things that we're doing as a community, and you go, gee, is Wax going away? Actually, Wax is kind of tripling down on their strengths, right? And they are doing things that are like, when you look at it, you go, oh, wow, these are all great ideas. Like, of course they are, because we're software development, professionals, and we're professional game makers. Everything we do, we bring a lot of experience. And we start at the consumer problem and we work backwards to what that technological solution looks like. And so it's this very well-intended thing. So nobody's jumping ship at all. In fact, the funny thing is when we talk about, doing things with Polygon and Solana or on Ethereum and, kind of OpenSea collections, people go, oh, are you leaving? Like, actually, no, utility still lives on Wax. Like, these are all bridges to all these different protocols. So these players can say, oh, cool, I have this asset, I can use it. Where am I going to use it? Am I going to use it on a kind of a slow or clunky chain? No, you're going to use it on Wax, right? And they're like, wow, Wax is great to use. It's fast. It's, like you said, the time finality is instantaneous. It can handle a ton of transactions. This is a really good user experience. I can see my NFT collections in my wallet. Like, there's all these things that we think are massive wins. And so bridging to those, different protocols so they can sell in the marketplace they're comfortable with or sell to the audience that they know, great. But utility absolutely lives on Wax. And that's something that's not going to change anytime soon because there's no better solution. And all the third-party kind of data sites back that up.
Totally agree. Well, I mean, that's reassuring to hear for sure. Something that, I think that some people just, they just don't know. I think that it's for a lot of us, like veterans or people who have been in the space, we keep up with things a lot and, we understand kind of like, oh, I understand why this is happening. But I think people who are kind of new and have come in this last cycle or so, maybe they don't have as much experience. So I think it's good to kind of just, reassure people of what, is going on with the new direction like this, because it is a big change. When you look at like where you guys are going from for what you're doing now, kind of like it's separating the studio out from the entity of Wax itself. It is a big change, but I think it's a good one and a necessary one. So like kind of pivoting here a little bit to talking about Tyranno here. Let's talk about like, so whose idea was this dinosaur here that we're seeing here as the new face of what we're gonna see here for the future of Wax Studios. So here we got there he is. He's right there in the background. I like it. I like it, but was this William? Did William draw this out like one day while he was on the plane? And he's like, "All right, I got this, man."
He did. In addition to graduating Harvard, with honors, he's also a full-time artist and a graphic designer. So who knew? Yeah, no, he actually didn't. It was our chief creative officer came up with this. And you look at the teeth actually spelled Toronto. A lot of people don't realize that it goes Tyranno.
Oh, wow! Yeah, I just saw that. That is awesome.
We were inspired by, if you look at the Tostitos logo, if you look at the FedEx logo, the Amazon logo, a lot of these logos have this hidden iconography, this other meaning. Yeah. Not so much an Easter egg. It's all very intentional, but like we're of the same mindset. And it's funny, like, is it Tyranno or is it Tyranno, like tyrant? Like, we actually don't care. We see the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but we think of ourselves as this very kind of, aggressive organization, right? And that's the point. The Tyrannosaurus Rex is an apex predator. We think we're the king of the NFTs. We think we deliver the best experience. If you look at the Street Fighter collection that came out almost 2 years ago, we really led that whole, kind of, licensed IP tied to a collection, tied to a blending mechanic. Like, there's all these trails that we are blazing, and we get a signal and we learn and we pivot and we move forward. And, gaming is the latest kind of thing that we very much believe that's where the world is going, how we get broad adoption. Some people call gaming the Trojan horse of Web3. But, Tyranno really was an idea for us to really kind of set ourselves apart. And, I guess to answer your question, Stash, it was when we talk to people and they understand what Wax can do and what Wax has done and what it's all about, they're like, oh my God. First, they're a little apologetic. Like, I wish I had. No, you're right.
That's the first thing. They're like, I didn't know. I'm so sorry.
You're the best kept secret in Web3. I'm like, I know. And then that kills me to hear that and to understand that. So we very much want to be a little bit more in your face. We want to get earned media. We want to get, people's attention. And, we want to do that by, evocative things such as this, an aggressive logo with, it's like, oh, wow, that's strangely great, eye-grabbing. Like, yeah, that's the point. Pay attention to us because we're doing things that make a ton of sense for the right reasons.
And, so like looking at that and looking at kind of what the flagship is here, obviously, I think that everyone, well, if you don't know, Blockchain Brawlers is kind of the focus of that, right? And so that's kind of what we've been looking at here as the, focus of like, what are we doing? Blockchain Brawlers, man. Yeah. It's Brawlserum season.
Yeah, it's Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about this, about blockchain brawlers, where we're at right now, and how people can jump on board with this and start playing.
Yeah, the whole notion of brawlers and what is our profile. Sometimes, admittedly, we're a little guilty of living inside of our own echo chamber, right? So we go into our Discord, we go into kind of the Wax Twitter account, Wax Telegram, what have you, and we're like, yeah, brawlers is the greatest thing ever. And then I look at these lists like best Web3 games, available to play, and we're never on that list. And it just blows my mind. I actually do think we have probably the best game in Web3 and maybe a top 10 game in all of gaming. Like, it's that fun. Like, it's super addictive. It's super easy to kind of understand, but there's tons of subtlety. There's tons of depth. There's tons of, read your opponent. There's tension. It's like eating a can of Pringles. You're like, oh, I'll just have one. And, 2 cans later, you're like, wow, I shouldn't have eaten all those potato chips. Like, this is just highly consumptive. You want to do it over and over again. Like, it's this really, really wonderful experience, the PvP mode. And so what Blockchain Brawlers is, we're going live next week with, user authenticated accounts. You can play head-to-head games. And the PvP game that's at its core was designed by a guy named Richard Garfield. And for those people who don't know who Richard Garfield is, you hit the play button, beta button there, and you'll get into the PvP game, which I encourage you not to do right now, because I'd have to explain a lot of things to you fairly quickly, and maybe we lose our audience. The point is, Richard Garfield designed the PvP mechanic. Like, this is a card game designed by Richard Garfield. The most famous card game that Richard Garfield designed was called Magic the Gathering, right? And if you look at the kind of player-to-player economy of Magic the Gathering, 22 billion with a B, 22 billion cards have traded hands between players. Not 22 billion cards have been sold by Wizards of the Coast, now Hasbro. 22 billion cards have been traded between players. Like, this player-to-player economy or participation economy that we talk about a lot, that lives in Magic the Gathering now very much, we can bring to Web3 in this game. Now, that's not to say that this is a trading card game. Richard will tell you that trading card games are unbelievably hard to design and balance. He said it's probably a year plus. Once you have all your different kind of metas, it's probably a year plus just to balance it. And he's a PhD in mathematics, and he's absolutely brilliant. But what he has done is, for the last kind of year plus, he's been working on this game idea that uses a lot of math, a lot of gambling, a lot of risk, a lot of reading your opponent, and brought it to the fore. And he's like, I don't know if this works for Blockchain Brawlers or not, but this is something I've just been building just for fun. And you guys can utilize it, and it's nowhere else in the world. And he goes, I don't know if you like it. And I'm like, well, you're Richard Garfield. And if you like it, that actually says a lot, right? It's like, going to your favorite musical artist saying, Richard literally said to me, he said, what game do you want me to design for you? I'm like, you're Richard Garfield. You design whatever game you want.
Play me an awesome song.
I will figure it out. And so he said, well, I have this just in the lab because it's what I do. I kind of noodle around with things. And he sent me the game design, and I didn't get it at all. Like, I'm like, am I missing? Like, I think I'm missing something. And then once he put it in front of me and we played it 2 or 3 times, I'm like, you have this moment, like this moment of clarity, this light bulb goes off. You go, oh, you're a diabolical genius. Like, this game seems so simple, it's insulting. But then when you play it and you realize why you're losing, you're like, I see you, Richard. I see you, and you're a genius, and I love it. And I'm going to bring this to the masses, and that's what we're doing.
I mean, that's actually a pretty cool story. I did not know all the lore, we'll say, behind how the actual gameplay came about, because originally that's not what I saw for this type of game. I didn't think, okay, hey, this is going to be a card battle style game, and that's not necessarily what I saw. Is that what you guys envisioned originally for Blockchain Brawlers?
Yeah, the funny thing for me is a kind of a long in the tooth, game producer and content builder. You sort of build things for a couple of years, and then you put it out to the world and you say, what do you think? This was like, okay, we're building a mining, clicking, farming game. We're going to get this out in less than 3 months. And I'm like, well, what's the PvP? They're like, yeah, you can figure that as you go. So like, we actually didn't know what PvP wanted to be, but you get a pretty clear signal early on. I'm like, well, what can we build quick that's compelling, that actually works with this audience? And this audience very much were kind of gamblers and speculators, right? They really wanted it. And they talk a lot of smack to each other. And so I have history building, WWF, WWE, WCW content from my console days at THQ, which had all those licenses. So I built WWF Raw and Monday Night Nitro and like all these games. So people naturally thought, oh, you're going to build this highly twitchy kind of arcade action experience. But that takes a long time. That takes a ton of money. And that is really, really developer specific. Like, you have to have a fighting game company that is great at doing that. And so the degree of difficulty and time to market is really high. So the question that I had is, well, what can we get out of the next 6 months? right? And card games seem much more straightforward. But having Richard having the prototype designed and built and 80% balanced really gave us a major kind of head start. So a year ago today, this game wasn't even a pixel on a screen anywhere. And now we have all these features and functionality in a full game kind of end to end. Like, it's incredible what we've done I'm just telling you from a production and development standpoint, it's incredible what we've gotten to in less than a year. And it's only getting better. Like, we're literally just getting started. This is not even the tip of the iceberg. This is just a couple pieces of snow on top of the tip of the iceberg. So, and getting Richard comfortable with working in NFTs was, 2 to 3 conversations as well. He was very sensitive to, I'm worried about this, and, help me get comfortable because I like you, but I don't know much about this. And that educational piece is something that's really important that we do a lot as well. We get people comfortable about the, kind of the echo impact. We get them comfortable about the participation model. We don't sell a lot of content to players, but players sell a ton of content to players, which is really what we want to drive and we want to showcase.
Right. Yeah, having those kind of circular economies, I think, are super important, in general. And Wax definitely has that. I think there's a lot of trading things going on because of the low, dollar amount to be able to transact. And what we see as far as feature set is huge on Wax. Like you said, you touched on this earlier, in comparison to a lot of other chains. But with all those features combined, and having a product like blockchain Brawlers here, where you have also a top game design, is this something that you guys are looking to essentially take cross chain here pretty quickly, or what are your kind of thoughts on that? Because obviously that's been a big part of this whole move and change and direction and things like that. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so we recently announced and have now a working Ethereum bridge in addition to our Binance Smart Chain bridge. And so, Ethereum is, one of the most, known commodities in the world, and everybody has a MetaMask wallet. And so we very much now have assets that can go both ways. Every single asset in blockchain Brawlers that we have today on Wax can be bridged into, an Ethereum NFT standard. So the next is, let's look at the layer 2s and which ones are we going to target there. Again, it's baby steps. You kind of have to pick one area and really crush it opposed to trying to boil the ocean. So we went Binance kind of in December of last year. Now we have Ethereum bridges are up and working, and they are very secure. They've been audited a million times because I know bridges typically can't be in.
Yeah.
We put a lot. Again, the Wax blockchain's never been hacked. It's never been nothing nefarious has happened because we take security so unbelievably seriously. But we will add protocols or layer 2s, as we go. That's very much this intentional thing. Now Ethereum's done. Now we'll look at the next group. Who is it? What is it? When is it? Right? And so it's very much all in kind of the roadmap. And like I said, if you see things that we're doing, and if it makes sense, it's because that's the whole idea is let's be really smart about kind of mass adoption. And I think Stash, the thing that the message that we have that a lot of people don't realize is that people talk to me, like I was having a conversation, Discord, it's like, oh, you should burn more tokens because that'll really appeal to the investors and the speculators. I'm like, I'm trying to build a game for 3 billion gamers. Like, that's a better audience, right? Like, that's a better target. Like, you want to focus on the 40 million crypto gamers? Great. We have that experience, but really we're building to transcend the existing audience. And the only way we do that is by building a great game that's a ton of fun to play. And we've got a bunch of, things in mind that we're building that allow for that to happen.
Well, I definitely see that, here with, the beginning or this, continuing evolution of what we now have with Tyranno Studios and what you guys are doing there with blockchain Brawlers. So, Michael, thanks so much for joining me here and sharing a little bit about, this transition, what we have going on right now and how you kind of see the future of Wax here. Because I think the future is bright. I think there's a lot of, going on outside of, like I said, what you guys are doing too in the community. There's so many great things. And I think, with those kinds of combinations, we definitely have a win here, especially when we start to see, I think, a bull market to return and more interest and excitement is also returning with it. And that's when we're like, all right, we got you. Look at all the stuff we've been doing here in this bear market.
Yeah, no, and who knows when that cycle goes the other way, right? I will tell you right now, we are building a game. We're going to reach out to players independent of what the price of Ethereum or Bitcoin is. We're going to incentivize them to come in and just have a ton of fun, right? And there's real value in spend your time playing this game for 10 minutes a day opposed to whatever you're playing. And I promise you'll be more rewarded for that. And that's a really powerful paradigm that we're getting across to gamers. And we've got a lot of really innovative marketing plans to get those kind of core gamers into our world, which we can talk about next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there you go, man. Well, Michael, once again, thank you so much for joining us here on our monthly Waxapalooza live stream. We'd love to have you back. I really appreciate what you guys are doing over there at Tyranno, and give everyone my best. But we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I'll bring Richard with me next time, and we can all play kind of head-to-head and live broadcast, and you can talk to Richard about, he's brilliant. He's a great guy. He's got some incredible stories. So,
all right.
For you.
I love it. Yeah, that'll probably be a beatdown, but that's okay. He's like, I'm bringing the muscle next time, Stash, and he'll play you, and we'll decimate you on stream. It's okay though. It's okay.
Exactly. Okay, my friend.
All right. Well, once again, thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate it. You have a great one.
Yep. You too. Bye.
Bye.